Friends, today I am going to tell you a story that will not let you get up from your seat. This is the story of David, a man who, after getting trapped in jail, tried to escape 3 times. But every time, he was caught. And when he felt that he was very close to freedom, his security was tightened even more. Have you ever wondered how far a man can go just to escape from prison? And do you know whether David was able to escape even after trying so many times? To know this, you will have to watch this video till the end. So without any delay, let's begin. David was born in 1990 in Buffalo, New York. His mother, Elizabeth, was a school teacher, and his father, Mark, worked in a factory. David's childhood was happy, but when he turned 15, something happened that he had never imagined. His mother had a car accident, and this incident broke David from the inside. He saw that there was a shortage of money at home, and when the problems kept increasing, and he no longer had his mother's support, David drifted toward the wrong path. For the first time, David thought he would steal. He joined some people in his area who were already involved in crime. David gave them an idea. He said, "Let's form a gang, and together we will do ransom kidnappings or robberies. Our only goal will be to earn as much money as possible." This new gang, created by David, first started with small thefts. But that small income was not enough for them. They began targeting small stores, going inside, threatening the shop owners, and looting their money. Slowly, this gang started becoming famous in New York, and David also began earning decent money. But as David grew deeper into criminal activities, his enemy list grew as well. One day, someone attacked David. Maybe a rival gang had done this, but when David investigated, he discovered the truth through his sources. He found out that one of the shooters from his own gang was betraying him. That guy noticed that David now had a lot of money and was roaming around as the leader without doing much work. That boy wanted David's position, so he was the one who arranged the attack on David. At that moment, David decided he had to stop this gang. He thought he would quit all these wrong activities and live the life of a decent man. David married a prostitute from his own area. She was someone David visited daily, and he loved her. After a few years, David had a daughter. He lovingly named her Elizabeth, after his mother, whom he perhaps loved the most in this world. A few years later, when little Elizabeth grew up, she started going to school. David admitted her into one of the best schools in New York, and he himself started working as a carpenter. As time passed, David realized that once again they didn't have enough money for their needs. One day, when David came home drunk and exhausted from work, his wife told him something shocking. "Elizabeth is being removed from school because you haven't paid the fees for the last 6 months." To pay for his daughter's school fees, David borrowed money from some people. Slowly, he even left his drinking habit and became a completely good man. But the problems kept increasing. The people from whom David took loans were now increasing the interest. One day, tired and hopeless, David thought, either he should end his life, or he should take one last big step. A step that would bring him enough money so that he would never have to do anything wrong again. Then David decided he would commit a crime, alone. The crime was kidnapping. He planned to kidnap a child from the same school where his mother used to teach. He thought he would demand a good amount from the child's family and then release the child. And he did exactly that. A few days later, David started patrolling around his mother's old school. One day, while patrolling, he saw a child near the school. His name was Shawn, age 10. David thought he would kidnap this boy. In a very old-school way, he offered Shawn a chocolate and made him sit inside his van. He asked the boy's family to put the ransom, $50,000, inside a dustbin near the station and leave. The child's family placed the $50,000 in the dustbin. But then David made a mistake. When David was returning the boy to the van, Shawn started making noise. David felt that if someone heard the child's voice, people might suspect him. In that moment of panic, David tried to silence the boy's voice. David started pressing Shawn's mouth to stop him from shouting, and Shawn began biting David's hands with all his strength. In anger, David's hand slipped from Shawn's mouth to his throat. David didn't even realize it, and he ended up choking Shawn. Shawn died. David cleverly took the money and threw Shawn's body near the same trash bin before leaving. Slowly, the police investigation began. Shawn was the only son of his parents. His parents used every bit of their strength to find their child's killer. Then, with the help of CCTV footage, the police found David's van. From the van, they traced the owner, and because of that owner, the police also found David. The police arrested David, and finally, he was sentenced to prison. In Greenhaven Prison, New York, David received 30 years of imprisonment. David's first day in prison was horrifying. He saw that the guards in this prison were extremely dangerous. They beat the prisoners all day, abused them, made them sleep on the cold floor during winter, and on top of that, they sexually assaulted them. David's life inside the prison was extremely tough. But one day, David saw a familiar face, a friend. His name was Mike, someone David already knew from years ago when they used to do theft together. David felt happy seeing Mike. Mike was also in this prison for a murder case. One day, while they were doing prison work, David whispered in Mike's ear, "Don't you think we should try to escape from this prison? Aren't you bored of living this same routine every day?" Mike replied, "I have a plan. If we both want, we can escape from this prison. I was waiting for someone like you." David asked, "What plan do you have?" Mike told him that he had been studying the prison's structure for years, and he said that escape was possible from the prison roof. But before starting the plan, they needed to collect some small tools. Using an old spoon, some metal pieces, and a broken mirror, they made a tool. Every night at 10:30, the guards changed shifts, and they had 15 full minutes of opportunity. They observed the guards' timing carefully. Now it was 10:30 p.m. David and Mike were fully prepared to escape. Slowly, David moved toward the prison roof. They had already prepared a long rope made by tying many pieces of cloth together. With Mike's help and the help of other inmates, they had collected many clothes and turned them into a rope. They somehow hooked the rope onto the roof's edge and slowly climbed up. As soon as they reached the roof, they took out the tool they had made. Using that tool, they opened the cover of the ventilation shaft on the roof. They were almost free. But suddenly, the 15 minutes ended, and the night shift guards returned to their positions. When the guards reached their spots and saw David and Mike escaping, they immediately caught both of them. The prison siren began blaring, and both were locked in separate cells. This time, their cells were even more secure. 2 guards always stood outside each of their cells. They were allowed only half an hour a day to step outside. They were not allowed to meet each other anymore. David realized he now had to escape alone. Inside his own cell bathroom, David began digging a hole. This was his second escape attempt. Whenever he removed soil, he hid it in a small space on the ceiling of his cell. The guards standing outside his cell often heard David saying, "I'm very sick. Please let me sleep more." In prison, everything follows strict rules. You must sleep at the right time, wake up at the right time, eat at the right time. But seeing David's increasing age, the guards felt pity for him and allowed him to sleep a little extra. The bed on which David slept, he shaped the pillow and blanket in such a way that it looked like someone was still sleeping on the bed. Then he would quietly go to the bathroom and continue digging. Months passed, and the tunnel David was making started becoming ready. When David came out of the tunnel, he would cover the bathroom floor with cardboard and sprinkle a bit of soil on top so it looked like normal ground. He repeated this every day. But one day, the guards came to search his cell. When they first looked at David's bed, they saw someone lying there. But when they removed the blanket, they were shocked, because it was not David, it was just a pillow. Then they went toward David's bathroom, where they found a tunnel, They went inside, and they found David digging the hole. David was caught right there. This was the second time David had been caught, so they put him in an even stronger cell. Now he wasn't allowed to come out even for half an hour, and the floor of this cell was made of iron, so that no hole could ever be dug again. Along with that, a code lock was placed outside David's cell. Only after entering the correct code could anyone enter or exit the cell. So first, David tried to figure out that code. Because there was no physical lock in the cell, he thought that if he could find out the code, he could at least get out of his cell. After thinking a lot, David got an idea. The milk he received to drink. He secretly removed the foil from the top of the milk. He pressed that foil onto the buttons of the code panel. The next day, when the guards came to give him food and entered the password on the code panel, David waited until they left, and then he removed the foil. Now David knew the password to his cell. He only needed to choose the perfect day to escape. He chose December 25th, Christmas Day, because the guards would be in a party mood, less alert, less focused, and escape might become easier. Finally, December 25th arrived. On this day, the staff brought pastries for the prisoners. David hid inside his cell and waited for a guard to enter. As soon as a guard stepped in, David attacked him from behind. Within seconds, the guard fell unconscious. David wore the guard's uniform, entered the correct password, and walked out of his cell. Now he had to be extremely alert, so no one suspected that David was actually a prisoner. While walking casually, David reached the ground area. There, he saw a van. Inside the van, 2 staff members were sitting. David went to them and said, "Did you bring vegetables or food supplies for the prison in this van?" The employees replied, "No, we brought pastries for the prisoners." David said, "Oh, I also ate those pastries. They tasted terrible. Do you think the head guard will like these pastries?" "Not at all." "Let me help you. Take me in your van. I know a good cake shop. We can buy a special Christmas cake for the head guard." The employees immediately agreed. David was extremely nervous, but he didn't show it on his face. He quickly sat inside the van, and the van started moving. They had to pass 3 gates. At the first gate, they weren't stopped at all. At the second gate, they were stopped and asked where they were going. The van employees said, "We are going to get a special cake for the head guard." The guards then looked at David and asked, "Officer, why are you sitting in this van?" David replied, "Sir, I'm from the V-Wing. I received a call this morning that my mother and sister have come home for Christmas. This van was going in the same direction, so I thought, why not go along with them?" There was not much questioning, so David passed through the second gate too. But when they reached the third gate, they had to undergo a full search. This was the final gate of the prison, and everything going in or out was checked strictly. When the van reached the gate, the door opened first, but 6 guards were standing there, ready for questioning and inspection. Suddenly, David pointed the gun, the same gun that belonged to the unconscious officer whose uniform he had stolen, at the stomachs of the 2 employees. David said, "The vehicle must not stop. Whoever comes in front of us, run them over. I am a prisoner escaping from this jail, and I can kill myself and you too if needed." The drivers panicked and sped up the van immediately. The guards signaled to close the gate, but by then, the van had already passed through it. Now the chase began. 5 different police cars were sent after David. The police cars were much faster than David's van, and they were slowly getting closer. To escape from them, David drove the van onto a bridge that stood above a deep ocean. But when the police felt that David was slipping away, they finally opened fire. The bullets hit the van's tires, and the van stopped right on the bridge. David felt that he would now be caught. But in a moment of cleverness, he jumped straight into the ocean. From that day till today, the police never found David again. The shocking part is, the police searched the entire ocean, but they didn't even find David's body. This is why the police never knew whether David was alive or dead. Some people say that David's men were waiting for him in the ocean, and when he jumped, they rescued him. Another sign that David might be alive is that 2 years after his disappearance, David's wife and children also went missing from New York City. People believe that after escaping from the prison, David met his wife and children one night and left the city forever with them.